I'll be starting with the specific area of Module B, everyone. First of all, please let me know if I'm audible as well as clearly visible. Today is the first class for our case studies. Everybody, whosoever has joined, please let me know. Today I'm going to talk about a very specific area, some numerical questions of the specific theoretical as well. Both the areas will be dealing with it, right? Good evening, everyone. Please confirm if I'm audible to you. I'm going to take the class specifically of ABFM case studies today. We'll be starting with case studies, but after this particular week is over, I'll be coming to the specific area of ABFM module B and C. All the entire exactly ABFM will be dealing with it after this particular week once your BFM examination is over. Till then, everyone, please let me know if I'm audible as well as clearly visible. Chaliye then, everyone, if all is set, let's begin with the session right away. Good evening. Okay, everyone, we'll be talking about module B. Let's start with the case studies area. Basically, in the case studies, what kind of case studies can come? You can have a case study with a longer basic case study with different options and giving the solution. The second part can be, there can be a longer case study with a set of 1, 2, 3 questions, or maybe a set of 4 or 5 questions, depending upon the weightage of that particular that specific case study. Okay, so I'm starting with the specific session further. First of all, I would request you all, please share the session, like the session, and also subscribe to the channel right away. Right? Done, everyone. Let's begin with the session. Starting with the specific area of advanced concepts of financial management. This is module B, and we are starting with the practice questions of this area. Here comes a specific case study of preference capital, everyone. Chali. Now here comes a specific question. It says the case study of preference capital financing decisions for ABC Limited. They won't give you this kind of thing, but I've just given you a hint so that you can get an idea of what kind of what should be the way you should prepare these questions. Look at the question. ABC Limited is a mid-sized manufacturing company. It is planning to expand its operations by having a new production facility. The estimated project would need around 100 CR. Okay. The company is evaluating different funding options, including equity, preference, and debt. The management is leaning towards the raising the 40 crore through preference capital, right? Preference capital offers priority in dividend payment and repayment over equity, right? This is where they're talking about preference capital. The dividend rate on preference is fixed. That does not fluctuate like equity dividends. In case of equity, what happens? In terms of equity, there is one particular certainty. What happens in terms of equities? There is a particular uncertainty involved, as whatever money the organization will earn, that is something that will be shared to the people altogether. Matlab that what if they earn 1 rupee, then the entire payment will go to preference shares. So whatever is left, and if nothing is left, so equity gets nothing. Okay? That is how we look forward towards the specific area altogether. Got the idea? Chaliye. Now, let's talk about the further part. It says that redeemable preference shares will be issued with a 15-year tenure, ensuring the long-term funding. they have got preference shares for a 15-year time period. And preference shares have a limited voting rights and will gain only full voting rights if the dividend, even if this part is not given, this is actually law. This is something which we can use as a clue to understand what is happening. For example, in terms of preference shares, it is not allowed for the preference shares to be more than a certain number of years. If it goes beyond those certain years, then you cannot have redeemable preference shares. You cannot have a preference share which can be redeemed after a certain stipulated time period which the government has decided. In this case, the Companies Act 2013 has decided. So I'll talk about that law part as well, but let's finish it off. CFO is also considering issuing the cumulative preference shares that to ensure that the missed dividends of 1 year are accumulated and paid. Then the board is debating whether to opt for preference shares or go for equity. Matlab, in this case, you have to look forward towards what? You have to think about the pros and cons of equity as well. They are considering the factors like cost of capital and the impact on the debt equity ratio. Here comes the first question. The first question is basically of assertion and reasoning. Preference shareholders receive dividends before equity, and preference shareholders is classified as a debt, giving it priority over equity in dividend payment. Everyone? Both A and R are true, and R is the correct explanation of A. Both A and R are true. R is not the correct explanation of A. A is true, but R is false. And then the last one, A is false, but R is true. What's going to be the answer, everyone? When we talk about this area, let's look at the first part. Preference shareholders receive dividends before equity. That's absolutely correct. What they have is called preference. Preference means people having dividends before equity shareholders. They will get their amount before equity gets that amount. So they have preference. That is how the term preference came into being. So technically, this part is definitely right. But preference capital is classified as a secured debt. No, it's not a secured debt. It is basically someone who has given mind to the business. They are also classified as an owner. Okay? Giving it priority over equity in dividend payment. They get that preference because they are buying a share which is of that class. And at the same time, not only does it belong to that specific class, there is one more issue. That is, these organizations get a very important the organizations which are opting for preference shares, they know that the preference shareholder will be getting the money in priority with equity. Either equity shareholders knows that they will get their funding either at the end, or if nothing is left, they have to accept the fate. So in this case, the first part is definitely true, but the second part is completely wrong. These are also bound by uncertainty. When there is a loss, you are not liable to pay to preference shareholders too. Okay, everyone at the YouTube level, please share the session, like the session, and subscribe to the channel right away, please. Okay, moving on to the next point, everyone. The next point says, which of the following is true regarding preference shares issued by ABC Limited? Preference shares must be redeemed within 10 years. Dividend on preference shares is tax deductible. Preference shareholders have equal voting rights, or dividend on cumulative preference shares is carried forward if not paid in a particular year. A very, very important area overall, everyone. What does this mean? Okay, I hope this is visible clearly now. The first point says the preference shares must be redeemed within a period of 10 years. This is wrong. I told you there's a specific law time in the law. Whatever time is definitely required when we have to make a payment. It is not of 10 years. It is actually of 20 years. Okay? Then dividend on preference shares is not tax deductible. Second statement is also false. Preference shareholders have equal voting rights? No. Equity shareholders have the voting rights. Preference shareholders do not have any voting rights. They get voting rights only and only. There's one particular criteria. If in the organization, what happens is the organization fails to pay dividend for a continuous period of 2 years, then preference shareholders gets this opportunity. Otherwise, they do not. Right? So in this case, what's going to be the point, everyone? Next is dividend on cumulative preference share is carried forward. Whereas in this case, if the first one is wrong, second one is wrong, third one is wrong, then obviously the fourth one is the correct answer. Okay? Dividend on cumulative preference shares is carried forward if not paid in a particular year. That is absolutely correct. If you're supposed to pay cumulative dividend, then in a particular year, if you're not able to pay, then you have to pay the same amount of dividend along with the next year's dividend in the upcoming year. That means if you are able to pay D1 but you couldn't pay D2, now in D3, that is year number 3, you will pay D2 plus D3. That's the rule. Okay? Dividend on cumulative preference shares is carried forward if not paid in a particular year. Done, everyone? Chale. Let's move on and talk about the next question. Multiple choice in terms of the next point. You have one particular point which is correct. What is the primary advantage of issuing preference shares for ABC Limited? What is the primary advantage? Again, it is talking about advantages and disadvantages of preference shares. The basic advantage is lower dividend cost compared to debt. No dilution of control for existing equity. Preference shareholders don't have no voting rights in any situation. They do have. So this one is definitely wrong. Then preference shareholders are always tax deductible. I told you they are not tax deductible. So in this case, last two are out. Lower dividend cost or no dilution of control. What's going to be the answer, everyone? According to you, what's going to be the answer? Achha, everyone who is there in the paid portal, you can definitely let me know your answer in the comment section. I think the best part is let me put a poll there. Okay, putting up a poll for you, everyone. The quick poll is out. You have around 20 seconds to answer. Please go ahead and answer. The poll is out, everyone. Everybody on the YouTube, go ahead and answer. I am there in the comment section. If you are lighting the answer, then I can see the answer there. Everybody, let's look at the answer there. When we talk about the specific era of preference shareholders, now the preference shareholders do not have a preference in terms of voting right. They never had a voting right. So technically, in this case, what's going to be the correct answer? The correct answer in this case is going to be, the answer is B. No dilution of control in this area. Okay? Done? चलिए now talking about the next question there. Match the following. In the examination, you get these kind of questions, and in your examination, even questions without any options also has started coming. So you have more challenging area to cover in this examination. Cumulative preference shares, non-cumulative, redeemable, and perpetual debt instruments. I hope this is visible completely now. Repayment is mandatory as per the terms of issue. Dividend is not carried forward if not paid in a particular year. Then dividend accumulate if not paid, and issued by bank and financial institutions without a fixed redemption period. There is no fixation. After this much amount of time, I'll return the money. Such things do not exist in these questions. How do we work, everyone? Number one, cumulative preference shares. In terms of cumulative, we accumulate. In case you are not able to pay D2, then in the next year you will get D2 plus D3, two specific dividends together. So in this case, this is dividends accumulate. So in this case, A is definitely 3, everyone. Second point is non-cumulative preference shares. Non-cumulative means the one which does not accumulate or gets collected. है ना? Dividend is not carried forward if not paid. So मतलब A is 3 and D is 2. Redeemable preference shares. Redeemable means that is in paid. That is paid in terms of rupees, everyone. So in this case, what's happening? So since this is about rupees, so C is going to be 1. And perpetual debt means a debt which will not be paid off. That is why we are saying this particular debt will continue till the very end of the organization. Right? These debts are paid off once the organization liquidates. And these people get a preference as well in terms of their payments. So for D, it is 4. So can I say it should be 3, 2, 1 and 4? Right? So let's look at the answer. In terms of first is 3, 2, 1, 4. A, B, C, then D. And the second one is 2, 3, 4, 1, 4, 1, 2, 3 and 1, 4, 3, 2. So you know the answer there, everyone. Automatically look for the answer. Now, the best way is if you can define one particular portion properly, now you will find the entire portion solving up for you without any problem. That's the beauty of the specific area altogether. Okay? Chaliye. Now, looking at the specific area, the answer is 3, 2, 1, 4. Now, let's talk about leverages. What do you mean by leverages, everyone? Leverages can be defined as something in which if I do not have enough money, then what would I do? I will take loans. So, my taking of loans would be covered there in terms of the question. What does it say exactly, everyone? Leverages is what? Leverage is basically getting leverage over others. How do you get it? Whenever you are in dire need of money, then you will go for debt. The benefits of debt is you can definitely tell the person that you cannot go beyond this level. That means in your business, since it's your business, even if someone is giving you loan, their right over you does not exceed the money they have given you. I'm sorry. Everyone done? Look at this part. We have sales 100 per unit. It is of 24 lakh rupees. Fixed cost is 50%, and then variable cost is 50%, and the fixed cost it is 10 lakh. Everybody, what should be the answer in this case? Let's look at the question there. We have a sale of rupees 100 per unit. Variable cost is 50%. Can I say when I take the sales of this is around 24 lakh rupees? From here, start removing the variable cost. Variable cost is 50% of it. In this case, what's going to be the point? Sales minus variable cost is called contribution. Your contribution is 12 lakh rupees, everyone. It's not a small amount. It's a huge amount. Then they say from this area, also remove the specific area of fixed cost. So once variable cost is removed, then remove the fixed cost, which is of rupees 10 lakh. That means in terms you're earning before interest and tax is basically what? So what would be the amount? Earning before interest and tax would be 2 lakh. And then when we talk about taxation there, done. So this is the specific area where you have the specific tax on it. They say the interest, the borrow, this particular amount. First of all, remove the interest. Now, I hope you remember the formulas there, everyone. Everybody? Let's look at this part. You have borrowed 10 lakh rupees at the rate 10% and the equity is of 10 lakh rupees. That means earning before interest and tax is 2 lakh. First of all, you have to pay interest as well. Without paying interest, you cannot pay off any part of your debt. First of all, interest has to be paid. So in this case, what will happen? Earning before interest and tax is defined. This is your loan is of 10 lakh. So 10 lakh into 10%, your interest part is 1 lakh rupees. Now your earning before tax is 1 lakh. So this is your earning before tax, and remove tax out of it as well. Tax is of 50%. Everybody? Done, everyone? This is your earning before interest and tax. Then you have earning before tax. Then also remove your tax. Tax is 50% of the total amount. The total amount is 1 lakh. From this 1 lakh, remove the next 50%. That means you have got 50,000. Right? So this is how we look forward to it. Now look at this. Calculate the earning before interest and tax. How do we calculate it, everyone? Look at this particular formula. This is a question from the book itself. From the area of sales, always remove the variable cost. What you're left with is your contribution. After that, remove the fixed cost as well. Once the fixed cost is also removed, what you get is earning before interest as well as tax. Done, everybody? In this case, have you seen that earning after tax is barely 50,000 rupees? Someone was selling goods for 24 lakh and they are getting 50k, everyone. And if you are making 50k, the number of people this particular amount would be divided is 10,000. So that means 10,000 shares. So that means our equity per share, the income per share on any equity share is 10,000. You have 50,000 and you have to share it up with 50,000 people. 10,000 people. You have 50,000 rupees now and divide it into 10. So in this case, you have to pay 5 rupees. You know, that is your earning per share. What's the formula for financial leverage? In terms of financial leverage, it is EBIT upon EBT. Done, everybody? Now this is how we define the area of degree of financial leverage. This can be asked in the examination. Now look at the next question. This was a very important question, Pata. Next point is the following information is related to XYZ Limited on 31st of March 2022. They are given that there is an equity share capital 50 lakh rupees has been invested and 12% bonds are there. 12% bonds means simply means that when we talk about the bonds are there. Bonds means you have to pay interest on that, isn't it? Whenever you have any bond, that means you are supposed to pay interest on it. Then 1000 each of 37 lakhs. Sales is 84 lakh. If you have got the era of 84 lakhs, that means your sales is defined. Only remove the variable cost. Then you will get your contribution. But in this question, the different part is they haven't given the variable cost. So what do we do? Fixed cost is given, profit volume ratio is given, income tax applicability is of 40%, and they're asking calculate its degree of financial leverage. How do we work upon this, everyone? Your total sales is of 84 lakh. Okay? And everyone, please pay attention to this. This is a question from the book itself. Huh? Whenever in the question they are giving you profit volume ratio, how do we define the profit volume? Profit volume ratio is basically also called PV ratio. When we talk about profit volume ratio, also called PV ratio, it is basically when we talk about the profit volume ratio, this is based upon our contribution divided by sales. So if they do not provide us anything, but they are providing us our PV ratio, that means through PV ratio, if you multiply it by sales, then what will happen? Sales would cut, and your value, the correct answer towards this question can come easily by finding the contribution. So in this case, what's the contribution, everyone? Look at this part, everyone. Once you have found your PV ratio, what next will happen? Once your PV ratio is done, then you look forward towards the variable cost is done, then you go for the fixed cost, and then you find out the exact weight. In terms of the specific area, is there any fraud and the number of units, everything can be easily found out by just following this specific procedure, everyone. And you have a specific tax that is 40%. So what's going to be the answer? The answer is going to look like this only, everyone. You have your sales, you multiply contri in this case. Did you see that the particular formula goes by PV ratio into divided by sales? That is a look forward to. Okay? So when we talk about the contribution here, this is contrary to sales. So in this case, what can happen? If you have sales, then multiplied by PV ratio, na? Then everyone, so in this case, what is going to happen? When we talk about this specific area altogether, you have got your contribution less fixed cost, you get earning before interest and tax. What do we have? Contribution is basically the portion which is exclusively reducing variable cost only. So what do they do? Sales multiplied by contri divided by sales. This is your PV ratio. PV ratio was what? PV ratio was amounted to rupees 27.55. That means if your sale amount is 84 lakh, okay? So what do? You pick up the calculator. Look at this part, everyone. Showing you the calculator as well. In this case, what do we have? We have got profit volume ratio of 27.55. Now multiply it by 84 lakhs. So 84 multiplied by 27.55 percentage. So in this case, you get 23.142. This is your area of contribution. You don't need anything else, but you had to find only and only the contribution. Your contribution is 2314200. This is what I was telling you. Once you have calculated this part, then you have earning before interest and tax. Then you remove only and only interest part out of it. You get earning before tax. They have said the tax is 40%. Find it out and you can get earning after tax as well. But what is the formula for financial leverage? Financial leverage is EBIT upon EBT. This is a question from our book itself, everyone. A very, very important question. EBIT upon EBT. Done everyone? Now in this case, EBIT upon EBT is basically 1.38 times. Look at the next question. Calculate the degree of operating leverage when a company sells 1000 units of a product X at rupees 50 having variable cost of 30. Achha everyone, you have to find degree of operating leverage. For degree of operating leverage, first is write the sales minus variable cost. Your sales per unit is 50. Removing the variable cost gives you 20. Then comes the specific area of fixed cost. So in this case, what would the variable cost? Everyone always remember, variable cost can be in per unit, but fixed cost is always overall total given. So in this case, can I say 20 rupees per unit was my benefit? 20 into 1000. That means 20,000 is my contribution, while my fixed cost was 15,000. Done everyone? So in this case, what's going to happen? In this case, what's going to be the answer, everyone? Sales minus variable cost is equal to contribution. From contribution exclusively removing your fixed cost is going to give you earning before tax is 5,000. So can I say in terms of operating leverage, what you have is contribution divided by EBIT. Look at this part. From this 20. Done. So in this case, we follow the specific area of solving these questions in this manner. Always remember, there are two formulas. First is operating and financial. Financial, operating and combined. This is EBIT upon EBT. That's financial leverage. And operating leverage is contribution upon EBIT. And when we talk about combined, you have to just use the formula EBIT upon EBT. This is your financial leverage multiplied by operating leverage. Your operating leverage was of contribution divided by EBIT. So in terms of the last method, that is the combined one, it turns out to be contribution upon EBT. Remember the formulas. If you remember the two formulas, that is EBIT upon EBT and contri divided by EBIT, you will remember the entire topic in a proper manner. That's the benefit of it. So there are too many numerical questions ahead. So I think I'll be doing these numerical questions soon. But let me give you a breather from the numerical part. What say? Let's do some theory and I'll come back to the practical part. See, this is all practical questions that we'll be dealing with. So there's a lot of practical part that we're going to take up, but let's take a specific easy peasy theory question. Let's talk about this. Sprinter, sportswear and child labor. There's a case study there. Sprinter Sportswear, a multinational lacking its own factories, outsources production to 175 manufacturers in low-cost countries. Matlab everything, if everything making is not easy in our country, what will we do? Simple. Let's find people outside our country who will prepare those things for us, and that too at a lower cost. Recent reports expose child labor within this network, while Sprinter itself hasn't broken in any laws. This is something that happens that if you have a project and you give that project to someone else and that particular person is doing anything wrong, what will happen in this case? That's what we have to see. Why should Sprinter address this issue? Moral obligation. They should take the responsibility because child exploitation is basically a serious issue, and Sprinter has a moral duty too. You are connected with the organization, so you should be, I would say, ethically, you should not be doing anything of that sort. This is a reputation about the brand as well. If someone associates it as an exploitative organization, people will start running away from it, which is not worth it. Actions taken can be code of conduct, they can have audits, and they can have consequences, right? Okay, just a moment. I hope this is visible now. They talk about development of a code outlining ethical business practices, minimum age, all suppliers must adhere the code. But there's a rule and regulation followed. Audits, surprise checks by CA, CS, or internal people, which will definitely keep these people on their toes. You know, and then the work is of consequences. What is the particular result of all these things? That's what I have to see. Now comes the next part. Why does Sprinter outsource production, everyone? It to improve their quality, to reduce labor cost, to gain access to new technologies, or strengthen their brand name. According to you, why would an organization which has got everything in that particular organization itself would look forward towards this? Done, everyone? Why does a sprinter outsource production? Outsource matlab you are not doing the work on your own. You give it to someone else. The reason was they to reduce the labor cost because making things on their own was difficult for them. So boom, they said let's hire people who can do this for them. Right? Chaliye ji. Moving on to the next question. What ethical dilemma? This is actually from the specific chapter. I think we are talking about capital budgeting, and this is the last portion of it where we have the ethical area. Okay, there are 6 pillars in terms of this. So they're talking about that case study on this. What ethical dilemma does printer face? Environment pollution, use of sweatshop labor, lack of variety in production design, or over dependence on a single supplier. Everybody, ethical dilemma which an organization is facing. Everybody, when we talk about the dilemma which they are having, the dilemma is basically use of sweatshop labor, whether they are looking forward towards the specific kids being exploited in that particular organization or not is supposed to be seen there. What is the consequence? What consequences might Sprinter face for following to the addressing child labor? Again, if you are associated with an organization which doesn't have goodwill in the market, you lose it too. Everybody, what consequences might Sprinter face for falling into the child labor area? Increased production cost, improved production efficiency, damage to brand reputation, or faster product development cycles. When we talk about the specific area, see if an organization is involved in child labor and they are found doing this, so what will happen in this case? Simple. In this case, there would be a ban on them, and that too will cause a lot of bad name for the organization too. For example, this has happened with Cadbury. Cadbury had been exploiting people. The place where they had been growing cocoa for Cadbury, those people cannot even afford to have one Cadbury chocolate. That's the limit. So basically, these organizations are exploiting the people in the backward countries, giving them sustainable amount only and not letting them to grow further in the organizations. Right? Next point. What is the benefit of regular factory audits, everyone? Lower product cost, identify and address core violations. Then the next part is streamline production process or develop new marketing campaigns. See, in terms of audits, I think audit is basically helpful in highlighting anything and everything that is happening around you, right? So especially if it's an internal auditor, they are the people who are part of organization. So you cannot really say no to them for the questions and the audits and everything else. So when you start sitting with them, you understand the organization in a detailed manner. So in terms of the factory, I would say auditor is very important. What is the benefit of regular factory? When we talk about regular factory audits, is basically going to make sure that people are not making any violations. Everyone, violations can be controlled, isn't it? Next point. This is a very interesting question. Let's look at this part. XYZ Corporation, a manufacturing firm, is evaluating Project Zeta, a new production line for eco-friendly packaging. The project requires an initial investment. This is a practical based question. The organization requires 50 crores, but their sales is expected to grow and become 25 CR. Then the estimated operating cost is 15 CR. So if you grow, then you have to pay this much amount of money in any case, right? The XYZ Corporation Then everyone, look at this part. XYZ Corporation is looking forward towards sensitivity analysis. Sensitivity means there is something in the organization which affects it. Okay? So now sensitivity is talking about the specific area of, I would say sensitivity is one particular factor affecting the organization. The second part says the 10% NPV increase, 10% increase in raw material reduces NPV by 20. 5% increase in sales, you increase your sales, your IRR also goes up. They're giving these points up. Then comes pessimistic scenario. Pessimistic matlab I think the organization will have a major fall in the upcoming time, right? Pessimistic approach basically assumes that the delay in production is of 1 year deferment of revenues, significantly impacting cash inflows, right? The management is considering whether to proceed with the project or they are looking forward towards certain conditions, emotions for cheap alternatives, or we're looking at they also evaluate the possibility of adjusting the project cost. Everybody, what's going to be the answer in this case? Pessimistic is basically once you feel that array worst to worst, this is the one that will happen, right? Now look at this particular case study all done. First is assertion reasoning. The management should indicate a 15% contingency cost in the project budget. Whenever we talk about contingency cost, then contingency covering should be done before time. Everybody, the management should include 15% contingency cost or raw material costs are volatile and imported goods can have unpredictable pricing. Isn't it true? Raw material is volatile. Yeah, it is volatile. Is it unpredictable? It is unpredictable. In the market, when things go up, then value would be different. When things go down, the value would be different. So in this case, what's going to happen? Both A and R are true, or whatever is the correct explanation. After we are done with this, once this particular area is over now, everyone after YouTube session, you can still continue because then I'll be continuing with the theoretical, the practical questions that we were dealing with. Okay? There are 2-3 numericals, case study based questions that we are left with. So that is what we'll be continuing on our paid portal. So please be there. Everyone who is thinking to be a part of our course, I'll be showing you our app. If you're planning to purchase the courses, then you can definitely go ahead and do it. Okay? Chali everyone, in terms of assertion and reasoning, what happens is, in terms of assertion and reasoning, they are saying that the management should include 15% contingency cost. Contingency means may or may not happen. So if there is something which may or may not happen, so this has to be included, right? So in this case, first is also true and second is also true. So we can say both A and R are true and R is the correct explanation of A. Done. Here comes the next part. Which of the following statements is true regarding the impact of delay in production under the pessimistic approach? When we look at the pessimistic approach, we feel that everything is going below the level, it is not growing further. then what will we do? The delay in production will increase the project's IRR. 1 year deferment of revenues will increase the project's NPV. Nay. Then comes a specific area of delay will negatively impact the cash flows. And the last one is the delay have no impact on the payback period. Payback period means the minimum period in which we have to repay the amounts. So when we take a specific loan and we are not able to repay, that causes a lot of trouble, right? Done. When we talk about the true area in terms of IRR, internal rate of return, everyone, what's going to be the answer? I think when we talk about the specific area, if there's a delay, it will always negatively impact the project. What will happen? People will take more time to recover the funds, and more time to recover the funds means we will be also not be able to repay the loans in time. When there's a constant delay, what will happen? When there is a constant delay, then it will negatively impact the project cash flows instead of positive, right? Next question, everyone. This is the particular area which is given by the end of the chapter. Okay, adjustment of risk and uncertainty is given in there. Which of the following techniques is the most suitable for evaluating a risk of multiple situations such as optimistic, normal, and pessimistic? CVP analysis, cost, volume, profit is basically finding the specific area of cost, volume, and profit relationship. The cost of the specific things goes up or down based upon how much you are producing. If I produce a lot, then this per unit cost will be very low. If I produce supreme things, better things, then whatever will happen. In this case, if I talk about that part, then I will be selling less. When the customer have that kind of identity, matlab you have to look forward towards what is happening in the market overall. So cost is basically linked with the amount you will be spending. Volume is the total amount of the particular quantity of that thing, right? And profit is basically the money that you can make through it. All these things have to be considered. So this is not about CVP there. Then sensitivity analysis. Sensitivity is basically finding out how women are looking forward to or men are looking forward to. Or if I talk about sensitivity here, sensitivity is basically everybody is looking at NPV. No, it's not working out. We need something else. Then we are looking at the specific FD or RD or any specific shares which are being used. When we have to look forward towards one particular thing and its reaction to the market, then it is basically linked with beta. So when we talk about this specific area, how does it work, everyone? So this cannot be the point. Sensitivity, and then we have scenario. Situations can arise at any point of time to anybody, right? So more or less the things are situation and circumstantial basis. That is what you find in sensitivity. Okay? And then we have scenario. Scenario is basically full-fledged stories ready. This happened, that happened, this happened, that happened, right? And then what happens in scenario is every specific thing is also connected, but we show that they are not connected and their valuation is also done accordingly. And last is ABC costing. You work more, you have to pay more. You work in multiple areas, then all those things becomes your main area. Okay? When we talk about activity-based costing, for example, if I use a specific machine and you use it more, or I use it more, the depreciation is still going to be, say if it is of 20%, 15%, 30%, it's still going to be there. So activity-based costing is based upon the activity which is being done around, and then we find the value. Everybody, when we talk about the specific area, optimistic, normal, and pessimistic, what's going to be the answer? When we talk about optimistic, optimistic is basically being positive about it, or pessimistic is basically being negative about it, and normal means you are most likely to do this. When you have this kind of thing, this is covered under scenario analysis. Sensitivity is all about a specific factor that impacts more than others. While in terms of scenario, you create multiple situations. This is that. All those points are given, and then you give your specific area of scenario, right? Achha, we are still left with a lot of area to be covered. But before that, everyone who is a part of our courses already, that's good news. But if you haven't taken up the course, this is the case study come revision batch. So we are starting with the case study, but after this case studies are over, what will we do? Currently, I'm dealing with the practical part now. Once the practical part is over, what will you find, everyone? You will find in the JIB and CIB, look at this part, November 2024 examination. You can find our case study come revision batch. This is our revision batch in terms of English medium. So if you are planning, you can definitely get this batch. And pata, this batch is currently available at a very good discount. Use the code Y541 and apply it, and you will get for 2939. That is 80% discount is available here. So if you are planning, then please go ahead and purchase it, everyone. Done. I hope this particular session was helpful. First of all, please like this session and share it among your peers. And everybody who's going to be there in the sessions, you can be there in the paid, because the paid class is still going to continue. But this is where we are putting an end to our session on YouTube. If this session was helpful, then please everyone let us know and write in the comment section if you need any further help. Right? Just a second.